maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Poppin', lock and stop and let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gon' act a fool. Enough jumps, the middle finger make my Jaeger just.
Hello, and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable Channel 23 on this May 22nd rainy spring day here.
We had a little thunder shower this
thunder
morning.
boomers going on this afternoon, all over the area. So another wonderful spring day here in New England. We've been getting our fair share of lovely weather this year. We are here for 30 minutes, 6 to 6:30, fastest 30 minutes in TV Talk Sports. And we're happy to bring you all the sporting news. You heard my man right here, Bob Rod Jr.
Hi, Scott.
How you doing there, Bob?
Pretty good. I mean, a few little problems, but
Bob's dragging.
yeah.
I don't know how much energy we're going to get out of Bob today. Walked in the studio setting up, and I could tell right away. Bob's tired. And I immediately thought, Bob's engaged.
Yes,
He's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's tiring, that whole engagement business.
Now I have 3 new people living in my house now.
And that's
fiance
and her children.
Yeah, Connor and Jenna. Also have a new cat.
New cat as well.
And Toby,
Cat might keep you up more than the kids.
And a dog now.
It's a full house.
Full house.
Very nice. Very nice. And of course, Bob's show Spotlight On is airing on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock, Wednesdays at 12 o'clock. He covers all the things in the area that you might want to see. And he's also part of, as we are here as well, Westerners Roundup, which follows us at 6:30. Mike Toohey made it just under the wire.
Again.
Strolled right in just in time. His show Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1.
And then
we have Strange Man. Peter Green working the audio tonight. He came in all full of steam. He's still as disappointed and angry and upset as I was about the Boston Bruins losing to the Montreal Les Habitants Canadiens. We're getting a little revenge via you, but we'll get to that momentarily.
Yes.
First, we want to talk about the fight last week. We had Delvin Rodriguez calling into the show last week when we were here, and he did have his fight last Friday night up in Canada. He fought to a draw. It was a little bit of a disputed draw. The Canadian he was going against, Joachim Alcine, former WBA champion, and it was a pretty good fight. Not one of your more thrilling fights overall. That was the underwriting current of reporters' views.
How long did the fight go?
It went the distance, 10 rounds, and they did fight to a draw. One judge had it 96-94 Alcine, one had it 97-93 for Delvin Rodriguez, the other 95-95 to bring out the dreaded draw. This was a fight between two guys who are trying to keep their careers alive, basically, and whichever one of these fighters lost the fight was in danger of not getting another fight. So instead, they both get the draw, which means they both get to live to fight another day. Alcine now moves to 35-7-2, while our Danbury native Delvin Rodriguez goes to 28-7-4. He's no stranger to controversial draws. He's had them before, or even controversial losses, especially when he's fought in somebody else's backyard like he did last Friday night up in Canada at the Olympic Stadium. So it was disappointing, and you could see it on his face when the judges' cards were read. He thought he had won the fight. He was more aggressive than Alcine. Alcine seemed to be content to work the jab and try to get at Rodriguez that way, but Rodriguez was taking more chances, going more free with his hands, looking to land bigger punches, but the judges, didn't see it quite that way. They gave it the draw, so we'll see where this leads Rodriguez in the future. and what this brings for him. It was another Friday night fight. We mentioned last week he's tied most Friday night fight events on ESPN. Friday night fight 17 he's been there. So they like him there. They probably would have liked to seen him have a better effort maybe and get a win. That's the danger of fighting. If you leave it in the judges' hands, you don't know what they saw according to what everybody else saw. And Rodriguez does not get the victory, but he did not get the loss. So that was good. Other things locally, quick boxing note, as Strangeman handed me this note when he came in, his stat of the week. Colorado wins to stay undefeated. The Brooklyn, New York boxer who is backed by AJ Galante of the Danbury-based Elite Boxing Enterprises. Danbury natives know the Galante name well. Danbury Trashers fame, of course. And his son, AJ Galante's got his Elite Boxing Enterprises based out of Danbury, and now 14-0-2 with 9 knockouts. 8-round junior middleweight fight was the co-main event on Showtime's Showbox Series Friday night. So he was going head up with Delvin. So I wonder, locally, who was watching what?
Who was flipping channels from
Flipping channels from Showtime to ESPN there, as 2 fights were going on. This one was at Foxwood, so it was in Connecticut, and he won a unanimous decision over previously unbeaten Sebastian Bouchard. So we have another boxer in the area. He's not from Danbury like Delvin, but his boxing agency is the Elite Boxing Agency, so Enterprises. So we'll keep our eye on him as well. He's a 28-year-old, and see what that does for him as he moves forward. 14-0-2 is impressive. Other thing we talked about locally last week was the local charity hockey event.
How did it go for 72
hours?
The
Play for Purpose event that we talked about that took place in the Winter Garden Ice Arena. There he is, Kaden, getting Symington ready, getting ready to drop the puck. And Kaden is ever the poser. He's a sharp-dressed man, likes to put the hands in his pocket, looking good, ready for the cameras as he is getting ready. And there he is on the ice, ready to drop the puck as the hockey contestants were getting ready to face off on that 72-hour hockey event. And then, Bob, in the final 3 hours, the players must have been so tired they called in the reserves. They laced him up. They got him out there on the ice. He was part of the game during the final 3 hours of the 72 hours. Looks like right there, I can't tell for sure, he may have been slipping a puck by the goaltender wearing an old dog jersey. I wonder who the goaltender was there. But Kaden was thrilled, absolutely as thrilled as he was to drop the puck at the beginning of this event up there in Richfield. He was even more thrilled to get the chance to skate with the big boys. They let him out there to skate. There were no casualties. We didn't hear of anybody dropping dead, skating shift after shift for 72 hours. They kept rotating players in and out. 3-hour stints, I think it was, overnight. Guys coming and going, getting as much ice time as they could. Fatigue, of course, was a factor. Kaden occasionally watches the show, so maybe he's in our Ridgefield viewing area. Maybe he's watching right now. Maybe he wants to call in, 203-792-4101. Maybe he can give us a call if he feels up to it and let us know what his experiences was out there at the Winter Garden Ice Arena for the Play for Purpose. But overall, we have been told that the event was great. There was 3 charities that were involved. They got a lot of support. A lot of people came out. So overall, it was a great event up there in Richfield. And of course, Kaden was thrilled. And if you're watching out there, Kaden, we'd love to hear how it went. Go ahead, give us a call. 203-792-4101 is the number. Let's move on to NHL while we wait breathlessly to see if Kaden actually gives us a call, Bob. We'll talk about other hockey. His mom, I know, huge Rangers fan, as a matter of fact. Maybe she wants to get on the phone and call in and talk about the Rangers. 2 games away from the Stanley Cup Finals, Bob. Do we want to look that far ahead, or do we got to keep our eye on the prize?
No, we want to go for the gold here.
They are looking to knock out the Canadiens Bruins fans, not really fans of either the Blue Shorts, definitely not fans of the Canadiens. As a Boston sports fan, I have said many times, a lot of people think that some of the football teams are in the top 3 most hated Boston sports teams, but I beg to differ. It is, of course, the Yankees, and then it is the Los Angeles Lakers. And then coming in not too far behind them, it is the Montreal Canadiens. Those are the 3 teams we hate. You can throw in the Jets if you want, but
well,
the
Jets are not even on the map.
They're a fly on a donkey's backside, Bob. But the Canadiens and the Yankees and the Lakers, we've had battles with them that have major significance. And as Peter Green, you saw a strange man coming in, you know how bad it was. We were not happy about that. So, although we are not blue shirt fans, Bob, we are all not really that disappointed in the fact that the crybaby Canadiens who cried up a river even after beating the Bruins,
right,
disappointed in the handshake antics of one Milan Lucic. They are crying even here, down 2-0. Think it was a cheap shot as the breakaway attempt by the Rangers in Game 1 by Kreider knocked Price down, and he is out of the series as he is done with. They cried about that, and then they also went for the lucky chant, Bob. They're saying that Henrik Lundqvist, King Lundqvist, is getting lucky in the net against the Canadiens. Can you believe this from the Canadiens, Bob? What have you to say about this?
All I have to say is, Canadiens don't have a prayer.
Don't have a prayer. Down 2-0. The Rangers went up there meaning business. 7-2 in Game 1, Bob, and then 3-1 in Game 2 in Montreal. The Habitants fans had no idea what hit them. Down 2-0. They got a couple days off to lick their wounds, and now it's on to the Garden tonight.
Their Garden's going to kill them.
Garden is going to be rocking at a fever pitch. Martin St. Louis, and I had forgotten about this, Bob. He was teamed up with Brad Richards years ago in Tampa Bay when they won the Cup.
Right.
What was that, 2004, I believe?
Yeah,
somewhere around there.
Right.
And St. Louis and Richards were quite a tandem there, and now they are reunited in New York and doing good things here. And of course, Lundqvist is the difference maker right now. We've known for a long time, Bob, that he possibly is the best goalie in hockey. And, the Rangers have really been close. 2 years ago, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals, lost against the Devils, the hated Devils. But they have been there with all the heartbreak they have had. I believe they are the only team to advance out of the first round every year for the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
They keep getting into the playoffs. They keep going at least 2 rounds. This is their second time in 3 years in the Eastern Conference Finals. It looks like they are definitely going to break through and get to the Stanley Cup Finals this year, back where...
So, who do you pick on the opposite side?
Well, I was happy to see the LA Kings come roaring back last night in Chicago after they lost Game 1. And then they were down 2-0 in the first period against the Blackhawks, defending Stanley Cup champions. But lo and behold, Bob, 5 unanswered goals in the third period, and they roar back to even that series 1-1. 6-2 was the final in that game last night. First loss at home for Chicago in the playoffs. They had held court in the first 2 rounds, and here they are now heading to LA, and the series is tied 1-1. As I had thought coming into the postseason, the Bruins at some point, their legs were going to catch up to them, making a deep run into the Stanley Cup Finals. And at some point, fatigue would be a factor for them. Maybe at some point, the Blackhawks winning it last year, and fatigue will be a factor for them. And the Kings, we know they went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and they couldn't get over the hump. Maybe this year they do it. They head back home. They've got a great goaltender themselves who won the Cup just a couple years ago, Jonathan Quick, the Connecticut native. So I will be rooting for the Kings and the Connecticut kid, Jonathan Quick. And I'd like to see, hey, why not New York, LA?
Hey, that'd be a great.
Bring East Coast, West Coast into the Stanley Cup Finals. If you get the Blackhawks, we know how good they are as well, and they're the defending champs. So still business needs to be tended to here, Bob. Don't slip up. Don't let the Canadiens get a breath of life. They are dangerous, but they've been, crying too much for my liking. I am a hockey fan after all. We've heard it said before, there's no crying in baseball.
But there's
definitely no crying in hockey. And the Canadiens love to cry when they win. They love to cry when they lose, which is one of the reasons why we hate them so much. The words I like to speak about them, I can't say on the air.
They're full of ice cubes, right?
They are a kitty cat, if you asked me, Bob.
Okay.
And they cry.
I was trying to be nice.
Right. I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So I would be happy to see the Blue Shirts take care of business. I'd like to see them just sweep them right out and get them gone. Tired of seeing those Canadiens. So we'll see what happens there. Other postseason action going on. The NBA action heating up, Bob. The Pacers played a brilliant game one, and it looked like they were on their way to playing if not brilliant, at least a very good game two, and taking a commanding 2-0 lead on the Miami Heat. But then all of a sudden, didn't seem like a big deal. David West gets hit in the face, scraped across the eye. That affected his play in the fourth quarter. And then Paul George on what I would call a cheap play by Dwayne Wade. When Dwayne Wade, was beaten by the defense, Paul George comes up with the steal. Wade couldn't let him just break, go for the ball and go for a breakaway. Wade had to grab him by the shoulder and arm and pull him back, which had George falling to the ground. And then Wade tried to climb over him to get the loose ball, kneed him to the back of the head, and Paul George was knocked out. And we find out later, concussed. And he is questionable for game 3 at this point. So the eye scratch and the concussion to George might be the reason why the Pacers defense fell apart in the waning moments of the fourth quarter. And the Heat come back to tie up the series 1-1. The Heat were down and they went on a 10-0 run in the final few minutes of this game, as the Pacers were reeling defensively, leaving wide open three-point shooters. Norris Cole, of all people, hitting a couple. Chris Bosh hit one. As the defense got muddled for the Pacers, they were confused, didn't know what was going on, and then they also couldn't execute on the offensive end, and it was a complete meltdown for the Pacers. Now it's 1-1 heading to Miami with the news of this concussion to Paul George. So basketball fans everywhere shake their head and go, here we go again. The Heat catching the breaks, catching the injuries from the other team. The Pacers, who we know we can't trust, schizophrenic team down the stretch of the season. So it looks as though the Heat might be in good position here to advance to the NBA Finals, where it could be a rematch against the San Antonio Spurs, who seem to be on a stone cold mission, Bob, to get what they feel like they had won last year. Everybody knows that they actually won the finals last year in Game 6, up big, not big, but up enough in the final minute of that game when the supposed best coach in the NBA, Greg Popovich, forgot how to coach in the final minute of the game. When one of the greatest players of all time, certainly a top 25 player of all time, the leader of the Spurs, is somehow sitting on the bench. Tim Duncan, when they're looking to wrap up their NBA championship. How is he not on the floor, Greg Popovich?
I do not understand that.
And, of course, Ray Allen bails out Bron, who gagged it up big time. With 2 turnovers in the final minute, a couple brick shots as well. And the Spurs were right there ready to take home the championship, and Greg Popovich blew it, and they didn't get the rebounds, 2 of those rebounds, with Tim Duncan on the bench. And say hey, Trader Allen delivers the dagger. So, but the Spurs are up 2-0. Bad news for Oklahoma City coming into the series in practice, Bob. Practice?
Yeah.
We're talking about practice?
Uh-huh.
Practice? One of their key role players, Serge Ibaka, strains his calf. He's out for the playoffs.
Right.
And they don't have much depth. You know, it's Durant and Westbrook, the 1-2 punch. There we saw former Husky there, Jeremy Lamb, getting some minutes. We've seen Caron Butler getting minutes as well.
Right.
But they only scored 77 points last night. Seems unfathomable. And the Spurs race out to a 2-0 lead. I mean, the Spurs scored, 68 points in the first half of Game 1?
Right.
And then they hold OKC to 77 points in Game 2? The Spurs are on a mission, Bob. Could be a good rematch. I'd like to see the Heat knocked out sooner than later.
Yeah, I would too.
I don't trust the Pacers, however. Before we get to baseball, Triple Crown is up for grabs, Bob. It is
Yes.
alive and well. California Chrome wins the Preakness. And this was I thought this race was much more impressive than the Kentucky Derby. He runs a very consistent race, Bob. He doesn't have like peaks and valleys. I still don't know that if he's got enough horse in him to go the distance in the Belmont for the 1.5 miles.
That's the problem. Nobody has had that Triple Crown yet.
The test of the champion, 1978, affirmed was the last guy to do it. And we've had 11 horses since then.
36 years.
Win that, 32-year drought, I believe it is, by my math.
Right.
And actually, if you look at it, Secretariat won in 1973.
Yeah.
He had ended a 25-year drought.
But I got to see a firm win the Belmont.
So basically, Bob, since 1948, Seattle Slew won in between 73 and 78. But since 1948, there's only been 3 Triple Crowns. Oddly enough, there's been 11 doubles since 78 and 11 Triple Crown winners in history.
Right.
We've been sitting on that number 11 on both sides. So interesting stuff. We will get more into it as that race comes in. The big news, of course, was that he is going to be able, California Chrome that is, to wear the nasal strip in Belmont, which he's been wearing. It basically is not a problem in any other parts of the country, but in New York it has been banned. They lifted the ban in that deal. So, I'll have another in 2012 was close, but he was scratched. He didn't even run in the Belmont, which is a big disappointment. You know, we've had other people, 2008, Big Brown, remember? A lot of hype around that horse. And his only loss in his entire career took place where? In the Belmont, in the third stage of the Triple Crown. Smarty Jones was the one who emotionally I was attached to in 2004. I think a lot of people thought he was going to do it. That was a horse that people gravitated towards, his backstory in 2004. But I remember watching that race, and I remember screaming at the top of my lungs, "No, don't break now." His jockey let him go too fast, and he couldn't hold down the stretch. War Emblem was another big one in 2002. He stumbled out of the gate. Charismatic, Funny Side, some other horses. We'll talk about more of them coming down the stretch.
You want to start with the Red Sox?
Yeah. I've been waiting for a score update. Hasn't happened. It's still 7-2. Now I'm just waiting for the final. They're about to be swept, Bob, for the 3rd time at home. And we're not even into June. I mean, it's bad enough you get swept 3 times at home all year. We're only 45 games into the season. The Brewers did it to open their first home series of the year. The Tigers did it this past weekend. And now the Toronto Blue Jays, who are in second place in the AL East, they are finishing off a 3-game sweep. Back-to-back sweeps at home, Bob. They're about to drop their 7th straight game. They're going to fall to 20-25, 10-17 at home. They will be 5-21 when the other team scores first, which is happening at a rapid pace. Of course, it happened again today. John Lackey, how do you do there, John? Back-to-back home runs. Your old buddy Jose Reyes led off the game with a homer. and it was off and running. The Red Sox actually rallied and got 2 runs back, but only problem was he gave up 5 more in the second. So 7-2 is the score. We're waiting on the final. We have not heard of any rallies.
You're getting some more and more adorned Red Sox stuff in the background.
We sure are, and we thank your lovely bride-to-be bringing Red Sox books, Red Sox paraphernalia, a couple Ted Williams things, which I like very much. So very nice. Right now, I'm not really in the mood. Actually, I guess I should be reading about my history since the present day isn't good. But we have a savior, Bob.
We do?
Steven Drew signed off the scrap heap. I thought your Mets should have signed him early in the year. They could have used him, but now the Red Sox signed him to try to help out. I don't know if he's going to be much help. Starting pitching is where they need help. They keep shuffling the lineup. They don't know what to do about the leadoff man situation. Ugly.
Hey, my Mets just signed Bobby Abreu.
Bobby Abreu's with your Mets. They're not doing too good either, Bob. 20-25, 4-6. I mean, what happened? They beat the Yankees 2 games in a row in the Bronx, and since then they've fallen apart again. Dodgers been taking care of business against them. They're not so good at home either. 9-14 at home, 11-11 on the road. They need to be better at home, like the Red Sox need to be better at home. The Braves are still in first place, 25-20. Nats right behind them, 24-22. Miami, the Marlins, Bob, playing pretty well, 25-23. The Yankees, of course, they're not doing great either.
No, the CC's out for 6 weeks.
CC's out for at least 6 weeks. Nova's out, Pine Tar Pineda's out, Beltran's on the shelf as well.
They said Beltran if he plays in St. Louis,
he's going to swing the bat on Monday, and then they're going to decide on surgery.
Then he's out for probably the
Tanaka finally took a loss in Chicago. The Cubbies beat him 6-1, but they did bounce back 4-2 in 13 innings yesterday against the Cubs. Yankees in first place, 24-21. No great shakes there. Other top teams in Major League Baseball: Detroit 27-15. The A's, Bob, 30-16, looking good right now. In the National League, the Brewers still playing well, 28-19. Cardinals 25-21. How about this news, Bob? Tony La Russa back in baseball. President of baseball operations for the Arizona Diamondbacks, who come in at 18-30.
Cool.
La Russa couldn't stay away for long. He is back in baseball. Going to run the show out there in Arizona. How much time we got?
We got about 30 seconds.
All right, that's about it.
So Westerner Roundup coming up next with the president of the Danbury Westerners.
All right.
Paul Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer, that episode that we didn't see last week, right?
Right. But it's definitely airing this week.
All right, we've heard the sounds of Fatty Roots in the background. If the weather ever got nice, maybe the reggae band would come out and play for us somewhere. Of course, we want to just say thanks again to everybody, and quick shout out to Kaden one more time. Great job by you for the Play for Purpose. We will see you next week.